Greetings, my beloved clients. I'm on hike again, thinking about you guys. Wanted to talk to you a word about taxes. So, there's been in the news lately that Biden wants to raise taxes on capital gains. Okay, and so I want to talk about that and what we should do about it. And before I get much further, I want to say this. What I'm going to talk about is the way it is, the way things are, not the way things should be or the way things I wish they were. So, because I know some people might be like, wow, but that's not how it should be. Well, let's just deal with the way things are. I think we'll have a better result, okay? So, first of all, let's talk about governments. And governments, in general, like to grow. And they like to have more power. That's just the nature of governments throughout history in America and other countries. Governments have a tendency to want to grow and to have more power. That's just the way it is. Not talking about the way things should be. Okay? So let's talk about the economy. So the economy is basically two components, labor and capital. So some people bring labor to the economy and other people bring capital. So some people make a living off their labor, others off of their capital. And the government taxes both. The government taxes labor in the form of income tax, and they tax capital in the form of capital gains tax, okay, and wealth tax. So, and currently, at least in the United States, the tax rate as a percentage on labor is higher than the tax rate as a percentage on capital. And some people complain about that, especially the people that provide labor. They say that's not fair that capital pays a lower tax than we do. And so Biden is proposing to raise the tax on capital to be more in line with the tax on labor. And people on his side are cheering him on like, yes, soak the rich, right? Okay, so now let's move on to something different. Let's talk about inflation. Let me ask you a question. What if the government could tax inflation? Would they? Well, we know that governments like to grow and they like to have more power. So if they could tax inflation, would they? Of course they would. Of course they would. They would tax inflation if they could. Okay, so now let's look back over the last year or so. And, the pandemic hit and the economy shut down. And both the Fed and the government and other governments around the world threw massive amounts of money at this problem, right? To try to keep the economy going, keeping it from shutting down. Okay, and over that time, asset prices went way up. You look at the stock market, last year it's gone way up. You look at real estate, in the last year it's gone way up. You look at oil prices, in the last year it's gone way up. Went from like 20 to 60, huge move. You look at cryptocurrencies, last year have gone way up. So asset prices have gone way up. Or is it that the dollar has gone way down? Because it's basically the same thing. If you say, well, shoot, a year ago, $20 got me a barrel of oil, or $60 got me 3 barrels of oil. Today it only gets me 1. Did oil go up or did the dollar go down? Maybe it's that the dollar went down, because they were just pumping so many of them into the economy. So did the stock market go up or did the dollar go down? Did real estate go up or did the dollar go down? Did cryptocurrency go up or did the dollar go down? So it's possible that a good portion of that gain was actually the fact that the dollar went down because there were so many of them being pumped into the economy that it inflated asset prices and deflated the price of the dollar. So now the government says, well, shoot, look at all those capital gains on real estate, on stocks and crypto and commodities. We should tax them, right? They already do at capital gains. We should raise the tax on capital gains and get more of that, right? So if the government could tax inflation, they probably would. So what if they did? Who wins and who loses? Well, one, the government wins because they get more income, and maybe in the eyes of some of their constituents, they get a moral victory because they soak the rich. But who else wins is the owners of assets, because their assets went up. Yeah, they had to pay more taxes, but net they still went up. Think of it this way. Let's say your assets were returning 8%, okay? And of that 8%, you had to pay 2%. So net after tax, you're making 6, okay? Then let's say now your assets are making 12% because of inflation. It improved your return. And you have to pay 4% in tax, right? Net, you're making 8% net after tax. What's better, 6 after tax or 8 after tax? 8 after tax, right? So it's kind of a win-win. The government went from getting 2 to 4, and the asset owners went from getting 6 to 8. Okay, so it's like if someone were to come up to you and say, "Hey, I'll give you $100 on one condition, that you give me back 50. Would you take it?" I would. I'm still net up 50, right? So in a way, it's the government making a deal with the rich, and they're saying, "Hey, let me soak you, but I'll help grow your assets," right? So you complain about it that I'm soaking you, but at the end of the day, you're going to be better off, and so am I. Right? That's kind of like what's happening. Okay? So, and my clients are people with assets, so we're going to get really good appreciation. We're going to have to pay taxes, and we're going to complain about it, but at the end of the day, we're going to be farther off ahead. Okay? So who loses in this situation? The people that don't own assets. They're not going to participate in this inflation, right? They're going to be on the short end of the inflation, where everything costs more for them. But because they don't have assets, they're not benefiting from inflation. Who else loses this? People that have their money in cash, because cash is depreciating. They're losing money. If you're sitting on cash or bonds, because bonds do not appreciate with inflation. Bonds, fixed annuities, CDs, that type of fixed asset, or cash, those people are losing in this game. Okay, so the other thing, so we want to encourage you to own assets, because there'll be some volatility for sure, but long term those assets are going to go up. You're going to have to pay more tax on them, but net you're going to be ahead. Okay, so the other thing, for maybe say someone's a little bit younger, you don't want to borrow money to invest in stocks. It's too risky, or commodities or cryptocurrencies. It's too risky. But for real estate, why not borrow money to invest in real estate? because that loan is not going to go up. The house will, right? And rates are really good right now. And so, I mean, I've been in this business a long time, 30 years, and I've spoken to people that were much older than me pretty much my whole career, except now. Now I'm older than some of my clients. But I've had many clients tell me a story similar to this. You know, our first house, we paid $16,000 for it, and the payment was $245 a month. And we were like, how are we ever gonna make that payment? Because we were making, you know, $500 a month or whatever, and we were nervous, but we signed the paper, and now our house is worth $500,000, and you know, 10-20 years in, that $245 payment was, you know, less than our car payment or whatever. That's inflation, right? So, and that's what's been happening in the last year, and it's going to keep happening if the government benefits from inflation. So I think this tax thing has a chance of going through. The rich are going to complain about it, but at the end they're going to know that they're not going to get hurt by it. So my conclusion, number one, taxes are probably going to go up. Number two, inflation's probably going to go up. Number three, asset prices are going to go up. Number four, the dollar's going to go down. The rich people are going to benefit. The government's going to benefit. People with no assets are going to fall farther behind. People with their money in cash are going to fall behind. So hopefully that gives you some perspective on taxes and what to do to position yourself to be on the right side of this. And feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or comments. Remember, this is about what is, not what should be, or what I think is best. So another beautiful day up in the hills. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.